Hey guys! So today I am answering your questions. I posted a quick little video a couple days ago asking you guys what you wanted to know about me or about the music industry and that kind of stuff. So I'm just going to start from the bottom here and answer your questions, all right? So the first one comes from Spencer Barber, and they say, what is the song you most love to perform? And that's a really tricky one. I don't know that I have a favorite, like, one piece, really. There, and here's the thing too, like, I have different genres, like, so I'd really have to go through and do, like, in the classical era, this is my favorite, in musical theater, this is my favorite, jazz, this is my favorite. But I will say there's a piece that's very near and dear to my heart that I have done a few times on recitals simply because I love it so much. And that's Samuel Barber's Knoxville, summer of 1912, I think. Oh, poop. Now I'm going to have to look here. Knoxville, that's what I call it. All right. And the text is just it's just such a beautiful setting. You have to look it up. You have to read that text. It is just stunning. Stunning, stunning. All right. But thank you for the question. The next one comes from Michaela Jacobs, and she says, I'm an aspiring singer, and I was wondering if you have any advice, tips, or tricks for learning different languages for songs. Also, I'm relatively new to your channel, so I'm not 100% sure what you do, but have you ever considered giving virtual voice lessons through Skype and through PayPal? I'm sure some people would be interested. So as for the advice, tips, or tricks, learning different languages for songs, the first thing that I'll say is that singers go to, people who go to school for singing, classical singing, who have to sing in foreign languages often, we are made to take diction classes and also to study the language just like anyone would go and learn how to speak Italian or German or whatever, okay? But diction class is all about learning the International Phonetic Alphabet. Now, that is truly a singer's bread and butter because a lot of us, we don't speak all the languages that we sing in. But we know how to pronounce it because we've learned the International Phonetic Alphabet, so otherwise known as IPA, okay? So I would suggest that you just start boning up on your IPA because you can find transcriptions of the International Phonetic Alphabet for songs that you're about to sing. So definitely start learning that. It's going to be a slow process, but it's all right. And know that when you first start, you really are reliant on a coach or a teacher or someone to kind of coach you through that stuff, okay? And that's okay. That's where we all start. So don't feel like, you have to know it all right away. It takes time, okay? And as for the voice lessons via Skype, that's actually something that I've thought a lot about. And I would absolutely be interested in doing that. There are a few things I have to work out yet, but it would certainly be helpful for me to know who might be interested in doing such a thing if I'm going to go to the trouble of figuring out all that business. If you want to let me know down below if you guys are interested in such a thing and whatnot, you let me know, all right? Let's see. MP says, what are some tips to strengthen your voice, such as belting basics or singing without strain? Thanks a bunch. You're welcome a bunch. Unfortunately, I'm not going to address that in this video because I want to do a whole video on some tips and tricks and things like that. One little exercise, though, that I think is very, very helpful is to focus on your inhalation. So that means your breath in, right? Good singing comes from breath. That's just the fact of the matter. If you don't have good breath support, then your sound is going to suffer and it's going to make your throat do more work than it should because the bulk of the work really is done in your abdomen, right? So that's its whole own thing, and I could do truly endless videos on that because it's complex and it feels a little different to everyone. But if you focus on your inhalation, it should be almost soundless. Now, you're going to hear a little bit of movement of air, but if you are one of those that takes in a breath to sing and you hear, okay, that means that you are actually constricting the vocal folds. You're making them close a little bit, and you're introducing tension into the throat when there shouldn't be, right? So, a good singing breath in should sound like almost nothing, right? Now, when you go to actually sing, I want you to focus on that same feeling of openness that you have in your throat when you inhale, and just sing on a nice ah vowel. I like to do a 5-note scale up and back down, just like this. Okay. Started in a different key than I ended. But you know, it's been a long day already. Anyway, so I hope that that helps. Try it out a couple times. I swear you're going to notice a difference if you really get yourself to relax. All right, then we have Macy Pack, and she says, how do you get such a great voice? I have to know. Well, Macy, you're really, really sweet. I didn't necessarily do anything. Here's the thing. To really cultivate a great singing voice, it takes decades of study. It really, really does. And that's why, and I can do a whole video on this if you'd like. Maybe no one but other musicians would be interested. But when you see shows like The Voice or America's Got Talent and, you know, things like that, where there are lots of young people who are singing and they talk about how they worked their whole life for this, but they've never actually taken lessons or they've never actually studied with anyone. That is hard for me because as a professional who literally has been studying for decades and has sought out lessons because I was so interested in it. And I understand there are always barriers to those things. And if you're one of those people that it literally is just not possible for you, I get it, okay? And I'm not trying to shame you or anything. That's its own situation, and more power to you for just sticking with what you love. But if you have the means and you have the opportunity to study with someone and you don't take it, but you say that you are so dedicated to this thing that you love so much, I question that a little bit. And I also, you know, when you're young, so if you don't know, a voice is really not mature. A singing voice is not mature until you reach usually your 30s, maybe even mid-30s. So think of how young a 16-year-old is, and then to say, I've been working my whole life at this. That's great, but you're still very much, and I realize you're almost an adult, you know, legally, but vocally, you're still a baby, okay? Give yourself time. Let your voice come into its own in its own time. Don't push it so hard, you know? But anyway, so there is a certain amount of talent that I think certain people are just born with. I don't know that I'm one of those, but there are many people who are just born with a really natural, innate ability, but that still means that you have to study and you have to work at it. And there's no one that gets, at least in the classical world, that there's no one that gets through that kind of music without some help along the way. And that's just the way it has to be. It's something that's very intricate. It's like a ballerina that's never actually taken a ballet class. Well, they probably wouldn't have very good technique and they could hurt themselves. That's the same thing with voice stuff. So thank you for thinking I have a beautiful voice. But, but the truth is, it's just hard work and dedication and, you know, spending a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of time on cultivating that little bit, hopefully, of talent that I had, you know, that I was born with. And Sadi Nessas? I don't know. Sorry, guys. I'm so sorry. I'm probably murdering your screen names here. I promise. Correct me in the comments, okay? So that next time when you comment, I'll know. I want to know the difference between a good technique of a pop singer and the technique of an opera singer, or just the technique of the opera singer. I love the opera so much, and I love your voice so much. Thanks. You're so sweet. You guys are way too nice to me, really. I mean, don't stop. Like there's enough nasty too. Okay, I get get all kinds. But anyway, so the technique of a pop singer versus the technique of an opera singer. That could be its own video in and of itself as well. So I'll just give you the kind of short answer. A pop singer is much more concerned with what the sound is on the point of exit, right? Meaning directly out of the mouth. If someone were sitting right next to you, what would you sound like? Okay. Their technique tends to be a little wider, more shallow in the mouth. It still should be relaxed. It should still have the same great breath support. There are a lot of things that are similar, but in opera, our voices are meant to be heard in big rooms. So I used this analogy to someone recently. I said, an operatic voice is kind of like a bomb, all right? If you were right next to it when it went off, it would be probably not real pleasant for you. It would probably hurt to listen to, right? But from a distance, it could be really beautiful and like rolling thunder, okay? And that's kind of an operatic voice, all right? Operatic technique is all about projection, using your natural resonant spaces in the body to amplify the sound. And everything is about tall vowels and keeping the sound in, a certain placement. And there are different theories as to what's best, depending on who you study with. That's probably going to alter your perception of those kinds of things. But yeah, the main difference is kind of placement and the end goal, if that makes sense. Thank you for the question. Good one. Metzate says, I want to know about how you got access to all the singing groups and lessons. And I want to know about your life and stuff. I don't know, just do random facts. Okay. Let's see. First of all, how did I get access to all the singing groups and lessons? So when I was in high school, no, it started kind of before that. When I was in 5th grade, I grew up in Milwaukee to that point, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And after that, we moved. And I was halfway through my 5th grade year when we moved. So when we got to the new town, I remember singing for the choir teacher, well, not the choir teacher, just the general music teacher. They don't really do a choir by itself, choir class. I remember singing for her and her saying, I gotta take you to the high school teacher. And so she brought me and my mom over to meet the high school teacher. That was, a couple miles down the road. And I sang for her. And she said, okay, well, she gave my mom a few things to think about for me and kind of just said, be careful, take lessons when you can. And that she was kind of excited to have me once I got to high school, which was a huge compliment. And so I went through middle school taking lessons from just a local high schooler. I believe she charged $8 a half an hour, which is crazy, okay? Like you can't get lessons for that, or at least not good ones anymore. But she was a high schooler. She was wonderful. She was my first voice teacher. And really, at that age, all you should be doing is just learning how to breathe properly and then learning stuff about music. Learning how to read music, learning how to find intervals and, sight sing a little bit, that kind of thing. All the musicality stuff, right? So I did that for a little bit. And that was, I think I stopped when she graduated and went off to college. And then when I got into high school and I had that high school teacher, choir teacher, she told me that there was no one that she would trust with my voice nearby. And so she suggested very strongly to my parents that they take me to see this woman that she had heard about that was about an hour and a half from where we lived. Now, growing up, my family was not a wealthy family by any stretch of the imagination. And so I still honestly don't understand how they were able to manage it. But my parents got me to that teacher and had me take an hour-long lesson with her every other week, and they paid $50 an hour for that lesson, which is absolutely what she deserved. I mean, I won't lie. But that is a hefty fee, you know, was a hefty fee for my family. And we had to drive an hour and a half each way to boot. So, it wasn't that it was just easy, and so I did it. We really had to seek that out, and thankfully we had the right people to guide us. But, you know, if you really want to make something happen, you will find a way. And I know it doesn't always seem that way, because I know that there are families that are in situations where monetarily they just don't have the extra to give. But that being said, as a teacher myself, I've given free lessons to a lot of people over my time as a teacher, because I feel that it's important to be able to help the people that just simply cannot afford the things that that their children could really benefit from. And so I would say that be on the lookout for things like scholarship opportunities. You know, there are lots of studios where they will take on 1 or 2 students per session, and they'll do that pro bono. So somehow, some way, you'll find it if you're really interested in it. Now, I had, like I said, I will say I had a really freaking wonderful set of teachers in my public school that I went to. My choir teacher and my band director both are very near and dear to me, even still to this day. And they really guided me on where I should be and what I should be doing. In fact, I thought I would be on Broadway. I was very much set on being a musical theater singer until my high school teacher kind of took me aside and said, "Hey, I think you could really do well at this classical music stuff." And she started to teach me about opera and would have me come in and listen to her old records of different singers and follow along in the score so that I really understood what was happening. And it was super cool, at least to me, but you know, so getting access is more about making access for yourself, you know? So good luck to you if that's something that you are wanting to do. And about my life and stuff, you'll have to be a little bit more specific. But yeah, I don't know. I'll do another one just about my personal life. How's that? Let's see. Brad Flores says, God, guys, I'm telling you, butcher. All right. What are your hobbies? Good question. I have a lot of hobbies. None of them that I'm like super, like all the time doing kind of stuff. I love to knit. In fact, here, I've got a hat sitting here that I made. I made this hat. I know it doesn't look like much, does it? I do a lot of harder stuff, but you know, that's what I have on hand. I like to knit. I like to bake. I like to lift heavy stuff. Like that's kind of my jam. If I'm going to spend time in the gym, I'll do, you know, cardio because I have to for the singing thing. You know, lungs got to be pumping breath the way I need them to. But I also like to weightlift a lot. Like that's fun. That's fun. I like to garden sometimes. I'm kind of, like I said, I like to draw. My dad's an artist, so that's kind of like anything creative I'm really into. So yeah, that's that. Thanks. Let's see. Get in My Van also said, second the comment about online voice lessons. Thank you for that. And do you have any tips about supporting higher notes and staying tension-free with upper belts? Again, try that breathing exercise. I swear you're going to like it, okay? And then last but not least, we have Helen Stanford that says, "Hi Vera, I'd love to know how singers keep grounded. My worst fear as I train is becoming a diva, thinking I'm better than the world." So let me just say, I understand the fear. I It's very... You think that if you get praise, you're going to start to become this, you know, real, well, I'm just so amazing kind of person, right? And it's something that I'm aware of myself. I try not to be too over the top of what I think about myself. However, I will say there is always someone who will knock you down a peg, okay? Like truly, you don't have to go real far to find someone that's going to tell you exactly what you're not doing well. And especially when you go into this and you start to study seriously, you will be surrounded by people who, for your own benefit, are going to tell you what you're not doing well, right? And I think that makes it quite easy, at least for me, to be aware of all the stuff that you need to work on, which does keep you humble. That's a good thing, you know. I will say though, and this is something that my students deal with a lot. I've noticed it in a couple of my high school students, and it's something that I want to tell you to do better than I have done and do, okay? So do what I do, not what I, or do what I say, not what I do. There we go. In that, don't romanticize the concept of thinking you're crap, because that's going to make you hungry. You know what I mean? Like, if I tell myself that everything I do sucks, well, that's just going to drive me to do better. Let me tell you from personal experience, not that I'm telling myself purposefully that I suck, but it is definitely in my subconscious, and something that I always feel, whether or not I feel like I'm having an okay day or whatever. I constantly think that I suck. And if you are one of those people, if you have other people telling you, you're doing good, this sounded great, blah, 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 do yourself the favor of believing them. Because I truly think, and I'll tell you guys, I am truly nobody, even in my local, like I sing with a small opera company, in the nearby big city. And I've done some cool things in my life and had some experiences as a professional. But I am not like well known in my area. I am not well known anywhere. Except, I mean, probably maybe more as a teacher than a singer, but, so, and I feel that even if I had the kind of voice that was worthy of more praise, I don't know that I would be anywhere but where I am, because I have not allowed myself to feel like I am decent at what I do. And I think that if you can't accept the things that you do well, you're going to be so paralyzed by that you're not going to get to be the level that you could have. You know, you have to be able to take in both the good and the bad. And while, you know, that's something that I struggle with all the time, I think that the only successes that I've had have come from those moments where I've said, hey, you know what? Maybe I am crap, but I'm going to try anyway. And I'm going to try to forget that I feel that way and go out there and just do my best and see what happens. And that is truly where the only good things have come from. So, you know, I would be more concerned with, can you allow yourself to take in your work as a singer and see both the good and the bad, you know, because accepting that there are both of those things in whatever you're doing is going to get you a lot further than worrying about not being humble enough or being too humble, you know. So, but that's my own stuff. So, But anyway, I am so grateful for the questions, guys. And like I said, I will be hopefully doing a video on some exercises and things soon. And I've got some other music stuff coming up, and I've got a little collab that I don't know when she's posting, but should be really exciting. So yeah, good stuff on the horizon, hopefully. And again, thank you for watching. I am astounded that you guys show some interest in me and what I do. So I appreciate it, and I hope you guys all have a wonderful day. All right, bye.